Welcome to Truthful Manipulation. In a world where truth is bent, facts are framed, and influence is too often used without conscience, this podcast stands for something different. I'm Dave Kelsey, along with H. Daniel Mujahid, and together we expose manipulation, defend integrity, and help you see clearly in a world determined to confuse you.
America, we are about to turn 250 years old. 250 years. Now, that's not a long time for a country, but that is a long time for an idea. And apparently, that's still not long enough for grown adults to figure out that democracy is not supposed to be treated like a rental car.
Exactly. You can't just drive it hard, spill coffee in the seats, ignore the warning lights, return it smoking, and say, well, it was like that when I got it.
That's basically the American political system right now. Everybody's standing around the car, the hood is up, smoke is coming out. Half the country is saying something's wrong. The other half is saying that smoke is fake news.
And there's one guy trying to sell the engine on eBay.
Welcome to Truthful Manipulation. I'm Daniel.
And I'm Dave. And today we're talking about America at 250, not as a Hallmark card, not as a fireworks show, not as a politician standing in front of 12 flags, pretending he personally held the quill in 1776.
We're talking about the real question. Can our democracy endure? And our answer is yes.
But not because America is perfect.
Nope.
Not because our leaders always tell the truth.
Definitely.
Not because corruption took early retirement and moved to Florida.
Corruption owns property in Florida.
Fair point.
Democracy will endure because we, the people, still have the power to course correct.
And that's the heart of this episode. America gets bent. America gets bruised. America gets misled, manipulated, divided, distracted, and dragged through the mud. But America's not broken as long as truth still has a voice.
And as long as the people are willing to use it.
And here's where we need to start. Democracy's not a trophy. It's not something you put on a shelf, dust off once a year, and point to when company comes over.
Although that is exactly how some people treat it. They pull out the Constitution like it's a family Bible nobody reads, but everybody swears they respect.
That's painfully accurate.
They talk about freedom. They talk about liberty. They talk about the founders. Then the minute democracy asks them to share power, respect votes, protect rights, and tell the truth, suddenly they need to interpret things differently.
Which usually means, I love democracy when I win, but when I lose, I'd like to speak to the manager.
Yes, indeed. Democracy is not a decoration. It's not a slogan. It's not a hat. And it's not a bumper sticker. Democracy is a responsibility.
And that responsibility belongs to all of us, just not elected officials, not just judges, not just journalists, not just people with advanced degrees in cable news lighting.
Cable news lighting does make everybody look more confident than they should.
It really does. You could put a guy under studio lights with a serious lower third graphic, and suddenly he sounds like he discovered gravity.
Yeah, and half the time he's just yelling what his uncle said at Thanksgiving.
That's democracy's challenge right there. We have more information than any generation in human history, yet sometimes we behave like truth is a side dish. Optional, only taken if it matches what we already ordered.
Truth cannot be optional in a democracy. Because democracy depends on people being able to see reality clearly enough to make decisions together. If you poison reality, you poison democracy. And if you poison democracy, you poison reality.
And that's truthful manipulation's point. Manipulation doesn't always destroy democracy by force. Sometimes it destroys democracy by confusion, by exhausting people, by making them doubt everything, by making them think every fact is fake, every institution is corrupt, every opponent is evil, and every lie is just another opinion.
That's not freedom. That's mental quicksand. A democracy cannot stand when everybody is arguing over whether the floor exists.
Now, let's say something important. Saying America has problems does not mean you hate America.
Thank you. Because some people act like criticism is treason. Apparently, if you point out the house is on fire, you're anti-house.
Exactly. If I say, hey, there's smoke coming from the kitchen, that doesn't mean I hate the kitchen. It means I don't want Thanksgiving dinner to become a crime scene.
And some people will still say, why are you so negative? Because, Brenda, the curtains are on fire.
Loving a country doesn't mean pretending it never fails. Real love tells the truth. Real love corrects. Real love repairs. Real love says, we can be better than this.
And that's the American story. Not perfection, correction. Not a straight line, a fight. Not a clean record, a record of people refusing to let the worst version of America have the final word.
America began with a promise larger than its practice. That's the honest truth. The Declaration spoke of equality while millions were excluded from the equality. It spoke of liberty while slavery existed. It spoke of consent while women had no vote. It spoke of justice while whole groups of people were denied justice.
And that contradiction matters. Because if we only tell the pretty version, we are not teaching history. We are selling souvenirs.
And if we only tell the ugly version, we miss the other truth. People fought. People resisted. People marched. People organized. People sacrificed. And people forced America to widen the meaning of its own words.
That's what I call course correction. America says something noble. Then America fails to live up to it. Then brave people stand up and say, you wrote the check, now cash it.
That's a line right there.
I know. I bought my good shoes today, Dave.
America wrote the check of freedom. Every generation has to demand that it does not bounce. Democracy endures because people keep walking into the bank of history and saying, we're here to collect.
Let's be honest. America at 250 years old is not walking into the anniversary looking untouched. It's not some clean, polished statue without cracks.
No, America at 250 is walking in like a prize fighter. Bruised eye, cut lip, bad knee, still standing.
And still talking trash.
Absolutely. America's like, I've had worse.
Which is both inspiring and medically concerning.
But that image matters because endurance doesn't mean you were never hit. Endurance means you got hit and kept going. Democracy's been hit by war, hit by corruption, by racism, by greed, by violence, by propaganda, by fear. And it's been hit by powerful people who wanted democracy to exist only when it served them.
Now, that last group has always been around, too. People act like manipulation was invented yesterday. Please. Manipulation is older than indoor plumbing.
And unfortunately, it's spread faster.
That's correct. The tools change, the trick stays the same. Scare people, divide people, distract people, make them angry at each other so they don't look back up at you while you're picking their pocket.
And that's a manipulation pattern. Create confusion, create enemies, create emotional exhaustion, then offer yourself as the only solution.
The oldest con in politics. Everything is broken. Everyone is lying. Trust only me.
That's not leadership. That's a hostage note with a flag pin.
You can say that again.
That's not leadership. That's a hostage note with a flag pin.
And at 250 years old, America has to be mature enough to recognize that trick. Because democracy does not collapse only when tanks roll down the street. Sometimes democracy collapses when citizens stop believing they have power.
And that's why this episode's not just about hope. It's about responsibility. Hope without responsibility is just wishing.
And wishing is not a strategy, unless you're blowing out birthday candles.
Even then, you still need cake. Democracy will not endure because we wish it well. It will endure because we work it back into shape. This episode of Truthful Manipulation is brought to you by something America desperately needs more of.
Common sense.
Yes, but apparently it's on back order.
Integrity.
Also, yes, but I was going to say our book, Truthful Manipulation, A Roadmap to Live By.
Good. Because if we waited for Common Sense to sponsor us, this show would be unfunded forever.
In Truthful Manipulation, A Roadmap to Live By, we break down how manipulation works in everyday life, in relationships, in business, in politics, in institution, and in the stories people tell you when they want your trust, your money, your vote, or your silence.
And unlike most manipulation, we tell you up front what we're doing. We are trying to influence you towards truth, integrity, morals, and ethics.
Which is why we call it Truthful Manipulation, influence with conscience, persuasion with integrity, a roadmap for recognizing the lie before it rents space in your head.
Because once the lie moves in, it never pays rent.
And it leaves dishes in the sink.
Disgusting.
Get the book, listen to the podcast, joins the conversation at truthfulmanipulation.com.
Because the truth does not protect itself.
But it does travel well when honest people carry it. And now back to this week's episode.
Let's get something straight. The threat to democracy is not disagreement.
That's important.
Americans have been disagreeing since before America was America. We argue about taxes. We argue about religion. We argue about schools, even our rights. We argue about football. We argue about whether pineapple belongs on pizza.
It does not.
See? Democracy in action.
Disagreement can actually be healthy. Democracy needs debate. It needs tension. It needs different perspectives. It needs people challenging each other. That's how ideas are tested.
The problem is not disagreement. The problem is dishonesty. The problem is when disagreement becomes a business model. The problem is when division becomes profitable. The problem is when people are trained to hate the truth if it comes from the wrong mouth.
And that's where manipulation gets dangerous, because manipulation doesn't always tell people what to think. Sometimes it tells people who to distrust. It tells them, don't trust the courts. Don't trust the press. Don't trust teachers. Don't trust experts. Don't trust your neighbors. Don't trust family members who disagree. Don't trust your own eyes, only the person who benefits from your fear.
That's right there, and that's the scam. And it's not subtle. It is flashing neon signs that say, "Welcome to Manipulation City. Population too many."
And yet people still move in.
Because fear is a powerful realtor.
Fear sells certainty, and certainty feels good when the world feels chaotic. That's the psychology. When people feel overwhelmed, they're more vulnerable to simple stories. Good guys and bad guys, us and them, pure and corrupt, real Americans and fake Americans.
Which is a ridiculous phrase by itself. If somebody has to keep telling you they are the only real American, check your wallet.
And check the Constitution while you're at it. Democracy can survive disagreement. What it can't survive is a nation trained to mistake manipulation for truth. Here's something that connects directly to our work. When people are shown the truth, why do they sometimes double down on the lie?
Because, as we said before, admitting you were wrong requires humility. And humility is apparently harder to find than a working printer 5 minutes before a meeting.
That's painfully specific.
It happened this morning.
But you're right. This psychology behind this, people don't just believe ideas, they attach identity to ideas. And when you challenge the belief, they feel like you're attacking them.
So instead of saying, "Maybe I was misled," they say, "You're attacking my values."
Exactly. And that's how manipulation protects itself. It fuses the line to the person's identity. Then the person defends the lie as if they're defending themselves.
That's nasty work there. It's like wrapping a scam in somebody's pride.
Yes, and once pride gets involved, facts have to fight uphill. That's why democracy requires more than information. It requires character. It requires the ability to say, "I was wrong. I was fooled. I need to rethink this. I need to choose truth over ego."
That's the real patriotism nobody wants to put on a bumper sticker. "I was wrong, and I corrected myself."
That'd be a great bumper sticker.
No one would buy it.
A few people would.
3 philosophy professors and one guy named Glenn who reads warning labels, maybe.
Glenn's doing the work.
Glenn is carrying civilization.
But that's the key. Course correction begins inside the person. Before a nation can course correct, citizens have to be willing to course correct.
Meaning stop worshiping being right. Start respecting getting it right.
That's a huge difference. Being right is about ego. Getting it right is about truth. Being right protects the self. Getting it right protects the country. A democracy survives when enough people love the country more than they love winning the argument.
Now, let's not sugarcoat it. America's warning lights are on.
The check engine light, the tire pressure light, the oil light, and that weird symbol nobody understands, but everybody ignores.
And the radio is somehow still playing campaign ads.
That may be the worst warning light of all.
We have distrust. We have political violence. We have corruption. We have conspiracy thinking. We have money drowning out ordinary citizens. And we have leaders who confuse loyalty to themselves with loyalty to the country. And we have people so emotionally exhausted that they are tempted to give up.
That may be the most dangerous part because manipulation wants exhaustion. It wants citizens tired. It wants good people quiet. It wants decent people to say, "Done."
Because when good people leave the room, bad people start rearranging the furniture.
And stealing the silverware.
And naming the room after themselves.
And that's why the 250th anniversary matters. It's not just a celebration. It's a checkpoint, a national mirror, a moment to ask, what did we inherit? What did we protect? What did we damage? What did we repair? And what must we pass on?
And what nonsense must we finally stop tolerating?
Yeah, that too.
Because some of this is not complicated. Don't lie to voters. Don't sell public trust to the highest bidder. Don't treat the Constitution like a menu where you only order the parts that flatter you. Don't call yourself a patriot while attacking the system that allows citizens to hold power accountable.
That's the line. You can't claim to love democracy while trying to disable the people's ability to correct it. If you love America only when it obeys you, you don't love America. You love control. You're listening to Truthful Manipulation, where we believe the truth still matters.
Which apparently is now a controversial position, huh?
Somehow.
We live in a world where people will fact-check a restaurant review, but not a politician asking for power.
And that's why the podcast exists, to help people recognize manipulation before it becomes belief, to help people see how language gets twisted, how fear gets packaged, how loyalty gets exploited, how institutions protect themselves, and how ordinarily people can protect their integrity.
Because once you understand manipulation, you do not hear things the same way anymore. You start noticing the trick, the distraction, the emotional hook, the missing facts, the convenient villain, the sudden urgency, the demand that you stop asking questions.
And that's why we invite you to listen to Truthful Manipulation, the podcast. Share it with someone who still believes character matters.
And if they don't believe character matters, share it with them twice.
Truthful Manipulation, a roadmap to live by. Read the book, listen to the episodes, join us as we keep pushing truth, morals, ethics, and integrity back into the conversation.
Because the world has enough noise.
It needs more signal. Now back to this week's episode. So how does democracy course correct? Not magically, not automatically, not because time passes. Time by itself doesn't fix anything.
That's true. Time does not clean the garage. Time just gives the spiders a dynasty.
That's disturbing but true.
Yeah, most truth is.
Democracy course corrects through people, citizens, communities, teachers, parents, students, journalists, judges, workers, neighbors, visitors, people who refuse to let the lie become normal.
And that's the key word, normal. Manipulation wins when the abnormal becomes normal, when lying becomes normal, when cruelty becomes normal, when corruption becomes normal, when threats become normal, when the public says, that's just how it is. That sentence is where democracy goes to die. That's just how it is.
Because that's just how it is surrender dressed up as wisdom.
Yes. And I hate that outfit.
Terrible fit.
Needs tailoring and a moral compass.
Course correction starts when people say, no, this is not just how it is. This is how someone wants it to stay. That's powerful, because once you see that reality can be shaped, you realize that it can also be reshaped.
That's what manipulators fear. Not angry citizens, aware citizens. Anger can be used. Awareness is dangerous to manipulation.
Because awareness slows people down. It makes them ask, who benefits if I believe this? Who benefits if I hate that person? Who benefits if I give up? Who benefits if I stop voting? Who benefits if I think truth is impossible?
Follow the benefit. That's how you find the manipulation. When the people wake up, the con starts sweating.
A free country can't run on laws alone. It needs integrity.
Yeah, because laws tell you what you can get away with. Integrity tells you what you should not even try.
Exactly. And that's the difference between a legal culture and a moral culture. A society can have laws and still be rotten if people are only asking, can I get away with this?
That's one of America's biggest problems. Too many powerful people have replaced, is this right, with, can my lawyer defend it?
That's not integrity. That's paperwork with perfume on it.
And it stinks through the bottle.
When we talk about democracy enduring, we can't only talk about systems, we have to talk about character, because systems are only as strong as the people operating them.
A constitution cannot make a dishonest person honest. A courtroom cannot make a corrupt heart clean. A ballot cannot make a citizen wise if that citizen refuses truth.
That's heavy.
And well, it should be, Dave. We're talking about keeping a republic alive, not assembling a patio furniture here. Although based on some instructions, that might also require divine intervention.
I once put together a bookshelf and had 3 screws left over.
That bookshelf lives in fear.
Integrity is what keeps democracy from becoming a game of loopholes. Without integrity, people manipulate the rules. They manipulate language. They manipulate institutions. They manipulate religions. They manipulate patriotism. They manipulate fear. And they manipulate hope.
And then they tell you it's all for your own good. That's the classic move. Control always comes dressed as protection.
Which is why citizens have to ask better questions, not just, what are they promising, but what are they asking me to ignore? And not just, who are they blaming, but who are they protecting? And not just, what do they say they love, but what do they actually serve? Democracy doesn't endure because people wave flags. It endures because people live with integrity when no camera is rolling. Let's talk about hope, because when we say democracy will endure, some people may hear that as denial, like we're pretending everything is fine. We're not.
Everything is not fine. Let's not put a smiley face sticker on a cracked windshield.
Exactly. Hope it's not pretending the windshield is fine. Hope is saying, pull over. We need to fix this before the whole thing caves in.
Hope has tools, even though denial has slogans.
That's excellent. Hope has tools. Denial has slogans.
Put that on a wall, preferably in the Congress.
Real hope is disciplined. Real hope tells the truth. Real hope looks at the danger and still chooses action. Real hope is not soft. It's stubborn. It says, we're not done. We're not powerless. We're not handing democracy over to liars, cowards, profiteers, and professional dividers.
And that's exactly why democracy will endure. And bad things can happen. Bad leaders can rise. Institutions can weaken. Citizens can be misled. Power can corrupt. Money can distort. Fear can spread.
But those things aren't the end of the story. They're the alarm.
And when the alarm goes off, you don't need to debate whether sound exists. You get up.
Unless it's my alarm clock, then I negotiate with it for 9 minutes.
That's between you and your character.
Fair. But the country can't hit snooze. At 2:50, America doesn't need sleepy patriotism. It needs awake citizens. Hope is not believing democracy will fix itself. Hope is believing we're still capable of fixing it. Let me take a moment to speak to you directly. The podcast, this book, the whole Truthful Manipulation movement, it exists because Daniel and I believe something simple but powerful. People are not powerless. They're often uninformed. They're often overwhelmed. They're often emotionally targeted and often manipulated by people who understand fear better than they understand truth. But powerless? No. Not when you wake up. Not when you ask better questions. Not when you choose integrity over comfort. And not when you stop letting other people rent space in their minds for free. That's why we wrote Truthful Manipulation, a roadmap to live by, because manipulation is everywhere, but so is the ability to recognize it. The book gives you language, it gives you structure, it gives you a way to see through the fog. And this podcast carries the message forward week after week because the word doesn't need more empty noise. It needs more honest voices. If this message means something to you, go to truthfulmanipulation.com, listen to the episodes, read the book, share it with someone who believes that truth, morals, ethics, and integrity are not old-fashioned words. They are survival tools because the lie is loud, but the truth is built to last. And now back to the conclusion of this week's episode.
So what does course correction require now? Because that phrase sounds nice, course correction. It's very polished, very responsible, like something printed on a corporate retreat folder next to a picture of a lighthouse.
I've seen that folder.
Of course you have. You probably kept it.
It had a good agenda.
You are the only person alive who judges folders by moral seriousness.
Course correction requires more than nice words. It requires citizenship. And citizenship is not passive. It's not just complaining. It's not just posting. And it's not just watching the chaos and saying somebody should do something.
You are somebody. That is the annoying part.
The very annoying part.
Democracy keeps handing the responsibility back to us, and people keep looking around like the waiter brought the wrong plate.
I didn't order accountability.
Too bad. It comes with the citizenship meal.
So what do? We vote. We pay attention. We read beyond the headlines. We challenge lies. We stop rewarding cruelty. We stop confusing volume with strength. We stop mistaking wealth with wisdom. And we stop letting fear make decisions that integrity should be making.
And we stop treating politics like professional wrestling. Because if everything is just a show, then nobody's accountable for the damage.
And that's the manipulation trap. Turn public life into entertainment. Make outrage addictive. Make people root for teams instead of principles. Make humiliation feel like victory. And make truth feel boring.
And truth is not boring. Truth is the foundation. The foundation does not need fireworks. It needs strength.
That's the work now. Rebuild the foundation. One conversation, one vote, one classroom, one family, one community, one act of courage, one refusal to pass along the lie. Democracy doesn't need spectators. It needs mechanics. And judging by the noise coming from the engine, we better get under the hood. At 250, America should remember something. The country is not the government alone. The country is not one leader. The country is not one party. The country is not one generation. The country is not one region, one religion, one race, one income bracket, or one version of history.
America is a living argument over whether we are brave enough to make our ideals real.
That's beautiful.
Don't act surprised, ladies and gentlemen. It comes in multitudes of things that we bring to you.
And sarcasm.
Mostly sarcasm.
But the line matters. America is a living argument. And the argument's not proof of failure. The argument's proof that the promise is still alive.
Dead democracies don't argue. They obey.
And that's a line we should let sit. Dead democracies don't argue. They obey.
So when people say America is divided, therefore democracy is dead, I say no. Division is dangerous, but silence is worse. The goal is not to stop disagreement. The goal is to reconnect disagreement to truth, integrity, and the common good.
Because disagreement without truth becomes chaos, but disagreement with integrity becomes progress.
And that's the course correction. Not everyone thinking the same, everyone agreeing that truth still matters.
At 250, America should remember the people who expanded the promise, the people who risked comfort, the people who marched, the people who served, the people who taught, the people who built, the people who questioned, and the people who refused to let America's worst instincts bury its best ideas.
And America should remember this. The future does not belong to the loudest manipulators. It belongs to the most committed truth tellers. America's greatest strength is not that it never loses its way. Is that the people, we the people, keep dragging it back towards its promise.
So here's the message for America's 250th anniversary. Democracy has a pulse. It may be tired. It may be stressed. It may be under pressure. It may be bruised by lies, greed, fear, and division. But it still has a pulse.
And if it has a pulse, we don't bury it, we revive it.
That's powerful. We revive it with truth, with integrity, with courage, with accountability, with moral clarity, and with citizens who refuse to be manipulated into surrender.
Because surrender is exactly what manipulators want. They want you hopeless. They want you cynical. They want you numb. They want you saying, nothing matters. But everything matters. Truth matters. Votes matter. Words matter. Character matters. Memory matters. History matters. And integrity matters.
And people matter. That's the part manipulation always tries to erase. It turns people into categories. Enemies, markets, targets, voters, demographics. But democracy depends on remembering that people are human beings with dignity.
And once you forget that, you can justify almost anything.
America at 250 should not be a shallow celebration. It should be a recommitment, not to mythology, not to denial, not to empty patriotism, but to hard, unfinished work of becoming what we said we were.
And that's the truth, ladies and gentlemen. America is not finished. Democracy is not finished. The promise is not finished, and neither are we. America's bent. America is bruised, but America is not broken. Not as long as we, the people, still know how to tell the truth and fight for the correction.
America at 250 is not the end of the story. It's not even close. It's a mile marker, a reminder, a call, a mirror, a test.
And like most tests, some people showed up without studying.
And that's why we're reviewing the material.
That's good, Dave, because the country needs a tutor.
Here's the review. Democracy is not automatic. Freedom is not self-cleaning. Trust does not spread by accident. Integrity does not survive if nobody practices it. And America doesn't course correct unless the people are willing to turn the wheel.
That's the whole episode here. Turn the wheel. Stop pretending the ditch is destiny.
That's good. Stop pretending the ditch is the destiny.
I told you, I got on my good shoes today, man.
At 250, America needs citizens who can tell the difference between patriotism and performance, between truth and propaganda, between leadership and control, between loyalty to the country and loyalty to personality, between courage and cruelty, and between faith in democracy and blind faith in people who profit from breaking it.
And let me say this plainly. No leader owns America. No king owns America. No would-be king owns America. No party owns America. No billionaire owns America. No movement owns America. No manipulator owns America. The people, we do.
And that's why democracy will endure, because every time power forgets who it serves, the people have the ability to remind it, sometimes loudly, sometimes slowly, sometimes painfully, but always eventually.
Manipulation can win the moment,
but truth wins the timeline.
Fear can flood the room.
Integrity can still open the door.
Corruption can grab the microphone.
But the people can still change the conversation.
That's America at 250 years. Bent, bruised, still breathing, still arguing, still correcting, still becoming.
And as long as truth still has a voice, democracy still has a future.
I'm Daniel.
And I'm Dave. And this has been Truthful Manipulation. Stay aware, stay honest, stay human.
And for the love of democracy, stop ignoring the check engine light.
That may be the most patriotic thing we say all day.
But it's definitely the most practical.
And that's been this week's episode of Truthful Manipulation. Comment on today's show at truthfulmanipulation@gmail.com. Don't forget to pick up a copy of our book, Truthful Manipulation. It'll help you see these manipulations in your life. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe at truthfulmanipulation.com. And pass this on to somebody you think may benefit from it. And happy birthday, America. Everyone should go out there and enjoy the 250 years we already spent together.